Kaminsky, Bucky good in the ball.
Mantel all the way to the basket. Foul, lays it in for two.
Hey, good morning, basketball fans. Welcome to our season finale edition here of the Upstate Hoops Podcast on FingerLakes1.com. I'm Jim Sinacropi inside the FingerLakes1.com studios on the third floor of the North Park building in Seneca Falls, New York. And we're live here on Sunday morning, March 25th, 2018. Great episode today, final episode. We're going to look back at some of the big stories of the year, take a look back at next year, give a few of our awards. We already gave our player awards, but we're going to announce our best fan base, our best dress coach, best student section, best concessions, best mascot, that kind of stuff. And then we'll take a little bit of a look into next year, see what that's going to be like. And we're going to debut our season recap video. As a lot of you know, at the end of every year, we put together a nice video with footage from beginning to end of the season, and sectional titles, and we did 44 live games, countless interviews and podcasts, and we kind of put that footage together and just as a way to recap the season for posterity. So we're going to debut that video at the end of the show, and then shortly after, sometime this afternoon, that'll go up as its own video as well on our YouTube channel and on FingerLakes1.com. So, yeah, it's been an amazing season. Every season seems to never disappoint around here in the Wayne Finger Lakes. Another successful year for Wayne Finger Lakes teams with 5 sectional titles coming out of the Wayne Finger Lakes leagues. That's pretty impressive. Past couple years has been really successful for Wayne Finger Lakes teams here in our area. And also our great sponsors that make it possible for us to cover Wayne Finger Lakes High School basketball the way that we do. Can't say enough about them, especially our big 3 sponsors. Generations Banks, they have locations, or Generations Bank, they have locations in Auburn, Farmington, Geneva, Phelps, Seneca Falls, Union Springs, and Waterloo. Their website's at mygenbank.com, and they've been the title sponsor for the past 4 seasons, maybe 5 seasons. So we can't thank them enough for their commitment to allowing us to highlight some of the great student athletes in our area. And of course, Dr. Rod Littlejohn, delivering over 30 years of Smiles with Styles. Their website's littlejohnortho.com, and Dr. Rod is really a big fan of our coverage, and it's a great way for him to, a big amount of his customers are high school students, so it makes sense, but he's been committed to helping us spotlight these great student athletes as well. And coming on this year for the first time, Bill Cram Chevrolet, where you'll save plenty on 5 and 20 between Seneca Falls and Waterloo at BillCramChevrolet.com. And remember, if you're buying a new car, stop in there and give them a shot and mention that you saw them on FingerLakes1.com, and you'll receive a $250 credit off any new or used vehicle. So they were our big halftime show sponsor this year. Dr. Rod was sponsoring the Dr. Rod Littlejohn Smiles with Style postgame show, and of course our title sponsor, Generations Bank, along with the many other sponsors who you'll see highlighted at the end of this show in our season recap video that really allow us to do this. It's what we do is pretty intense. Involves a lot of people and a lot of hours, and we need that financial support to be able to justify doing it. And the numbers indicate that a lot of people are watching. They go up every year. This was, again, our biggest year in terms of viewership. If you take total views of the live games and the podcasts, it's up again, probably about 15% from last year. So, and a lot of that has to do with some of the great postseason runs that teams have made. So yeah, we got a great show. might as well get into it now. It's going to be the last time we're talking high school basketball here until late November when we come back for our next season. So when I look back at some of the stories this year, some of the most interesting or exciting things, I got to start with the battle for the Wayne County boys league title. Clyde came into this year strong as ever, even stronger than maybe we thought, with the emergence of Marcus Chance as one of the best three-point shooters in all of Section 5. Drew Carnevale, Derek Chance, but they weren't a perfect team. They were short bench. Some games they had 7 guys on their dress for games. And so it was that big three and a supporting cast of like Austin Diver and Pat Marketel. But Derek Chance and Drew Carnevale, a couple of seniors who've really led that program for the past 3 seasons, and was glad to see them get a sectional title. They certainly deserved it. But the Wayne County League title means a lot to these kids, and boy, it was sure on display the 2 times that these 2 teams met. At the Atwood Gymnasium first, in which this was the first time that Justice Smith had ever beaten Clyde in his 3-year varsity career, as he's a junior now. And boy, that was just an amazing game. Just the atmosphere and electricity in the gymnasium, the level of play. It was an 87-82 game, highly entertaining. Clyde led most of the way. It included a half-court shot from Drew Carnevale, but then Clyde pushed ahead. Lions pushed ahead in the last 2-3 minutes of that game in exciting fashion to win that game. Now, at that point, Lions had lost to East Rochester, and so that tied things up in the league standings. So then when they met again in Clyde, that was going to be for the league title outright. And we wondered maybe Gananda, maybe East Rochester could also maybe contend. In the end, it was East Rochester's win over Lions in East Rochester that made the difference, because when they went back to Clyde, and boy, there was a lot of anticipation for that game in Clyde, Lions, Clyde, and Clyde. Everybody's in the gym. It's packed. The players are warming up. Got senior night activities, and we're about maybe 5 or 10 minutes to tip off of that game. And they had to clear the gymnasium because of a gas leak. So it was one of the strangest things ever. We'd already started our live broadcast. Everybody exits the gym. If you were watching live, you saw an empty gymnasium stream, and you were probably wondering what was going on. About 25 minutes later, they let people back into the gym. They go through the festivities, and the game tipped off about an hour after it was originally supposed to. Made for a late night, but in another amazing game. Marcus Chance hit, I think he hit 5. Geez, I can't remember off the top of my head how many first half 3-pointers he hit, but Clyde pretty much, I don't want to say they cruised. Lions never, it wasn't a blowout by any means, but Clyde led comfortably for most of that game. There's a couple skirmishes and scuffles in that one. Couple Clyde-Savannah students came onto the court, which was kind of alarming. You never want to see that, but they kept control of the situation. There were some technicals in that game, but it was a huge win for that trio of seniors, or that senior-laden Clyde-Savannah team, and they captured the Wayne County League title over Lions. And just that whole season, we had both those kids, groups of kids from those 2 teams up in our studio. We had David Weaver and Justice Smith and Jordan Harris up from Lions here in the studio this winter. And we also had Marcus and Derek Chance and Drew Carnevale up in the studio for a separate show. So when I look back at this season, that's one thing I'm going to remember, is just that battle for the Wayne County title. And then, hey, congratulations, Clyde. A lot of talk was like, oh, they're down in Class D, so they're going to just waltz to the sectional title. That crew that I mentioned from Clyde's never won a sectional title, and they, anything less than, I think, a sectional title would have been really disappointing this year for those guys. But they did win it. They beat Honeoye, and we'll talk about the Finger Lakes West boys in a second here. But in the Blue Cross Arena, then advanced to the Far West Regional where they lost to a really talented Buffalo East team. But, mission accomplished. Great way to cap off the careers of those great players, and really happy to see them celebrating on the court at the Blue Cross Arena for sure. And then what about Lions? Lions, you got to remember at the beginning of the year, they lost to Geneva in their first game and then almost lost to Waterloo in the second game in the tip-off classic at Waterloo. Adrian Porter hit a last-second shot. Not a last second. There was probably about 5-6 seconds left when he drove and hit the game-winning layup. And then Waterloo, like I said, gave them everything they could handle in the consolation game of that tournament. And we were like, man, the Lions they need to play better defense. They have so many deficiencies. It was great to see them improve through the course of the year. And really, by the end of the season, they really were a much different team and a much better team and a sectional championship caliber team, as shown by their win against Perry in the Blue Cross Arena, which was not an easy game, to say the least. Nor was their semifinal matchups. I mean, they cruised through sectionals pretty easily, but if you really compare Lions to what we saw in the first week of December to what we saw when they hoisted the sectional block at the Blue Cross Arena at the end of February, early March, first week of March, so much improvement. So big credit to Zach Young and a big credit to Justice Smith. I mean, that is his team. Nobody makes any bones about it. He has to be one of the top 5 players in Section 5, maybe one of the top 2 or 3 players in Section 5. And he's had so much attention heaped upon him since he was a freshman, and he's really improved. And one thing that he improved from last year, this year, is physically. I mean, the first time we saw him this year, we were like, man, he's really growing up, filling out. 6'4" at least, running the point, creates a lot of tremendous matchup problems, and he really, really improved his three-point shooting. Able to shoot over guys, hit some big shots in all the games that we talked about, including that sectional final, put up some huge stat lines, like 33 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists type of nights. And he's back next year. And Lions going to be tough to beat next year. There's no doubt about that. But for Clyde, it was the 11th sectional title in their school history. And for Lions, it was the 18th in their school history. And that's pretty significant because there's only one team in all of Section 5 with more sectional titles than Lions, and that's East High, who I want to say has 21, 22, 23, 24, something like that. So Lions is catching up a little bit. And they're positioned well to make a run at another sectional title next year. Congratulations to Zach Young. That was his 3rd sectional title. And so now he's kind of establishing himself along those that line of great Lions coaches, 3 sectional titles. Once you get up to like 4 or 5, then you start to get into like an elite group within Section 5 of guys that have won that many sectionals. So congratulations to Coach Young and the rest of the Lions. And yeah, they lose Jordan Harris. Jordan was a great role player for that team. They didn't have a lot of height, so he and Seth Van Buskirk graduate. Those are the 2 guys in the center, but I tell you what, they have a great JV team, and the guys that they're bringing back, like David Weaver and Correll Kelly and Benji Kemp, Lucas Lucier, they're going to be tough to beat in Wayne County for sure, and the favorites in Class C2 or whatever class. That's another thing that's going to happen next year is they're changed some of the way they classify teams in New York State, and so next year we're likely to maybe see a B1 and a B2 and maybe C1, C2, C3. So it's going to be a little different. We'll have to see who gets paired with who. We got to see where they're going to put North Star Christian, the team that knocked Lions out of the playoffs in the Class C play-in game. They return a lot as well. It was the Brown brothers specifically, and so I would imagine they're going to be moved up to at least B. I mean, they've won sectional titles every single year. I mean, and it's unfortunate, I guess, for Lions that they didn't get a chance to get to the state Final Four because they ran into North Star Christian, a team that a lot of people complained were improperly placed by the competition committee as a C school. And also really tough luck for Marcus Whitman, who lost to North Star in the semifinals of the C1 sectional tournament. They had a great team in their own right, and North Star did not look like a Class C team, nor did they last year. But I guess that's a story maybe for another podcast. But hey, how about the Finger Lakes West? We're really hard on the Finger Lakes West because we focus on teams with sectional championship profiles, I guess. And from the beginning of the year, I was saying I don't know if there's a team in the Finger Lakes West boys who were going to be able to win a sectional championship. Now, Marcus Whitman, they really did play North Star Christian tough. They were probably the one team that maybe had a shot, but knowing that North Star was in that C1 classification. But Marcus Whitman dominates the Finger Lakes West for a second straight year. They've really built a great program, and as hard as we are on the Finger Lakes West when we talk about sectionals, you can't deny that it's some of the most exciting basketball. Some of the games they had out there in the West this year were just so entertaining. The Honeoye Bloomfield matchup with Geithner scoring 55 in double overtime. Just some great games and some great rivalries. Naples and Honeoye both brought it to the sectional semifinals and squared off against each other in Bloomfield. That's a gym they're both familiar with for the Class C or Class D1 semifinal game that was won by Honeoye. But that was an exciting up and down game. And then credit to Honeoye, they go into the Blue Cross Arena and they really punched Clyde-Savannah right in the gut to start the game. It opened up a little bit of a lead, and then there's one of their senior leaders, John Marble, had a pretty severe ankle injury and left the game. And so who knows what would have happened in that game if Marble had been able to stay on the court. But Max Yale, John Marble, Tyler Rudolph, those guys really put together a memorable season and run. And they weren't, as I mentioned, the Finger Lakes West champs. That was Whitman. So I anticipate next year another highly entertaining year in the Finger Lakes West. Whitman brings back a couple of freshmen that they brought up for JVs that proved to be integral parts of their team. So they're going to lose a couple guys. In particular, Riley McLeod will graduate. But I imagine they're still going to be the favorites. And there's going to be some exciting rivalry games in the Finger Lakes West. Speaking of Finger Lakes West, how about the Finger Lakes West girls? Now, that's a totally different story between Red Jackets, South Seneca, and the Bloomfield girls. Just real exciting postseason in C2 that was filled with these Finger Lakes West girls teams. And we saw Bloomfield and Red Jackets square off in the sectional semifinals, and then South Seneca and Red Jackets square off in an all Finger Lakes West girls final. South Seneca captures their third straight sectional title. Really impressive feat for Heather Mott, her team and her staff at South Seneca to three-peat after losing so much last year and then coming just one game short of return to the New York State Final Four for a third straight year. I mean, it was amazing. And that was a team that in our preseason power rankings, I think we had 2 or 3. And then they started off, maybe 5-3 was their record when they started off. And we were like, oh man, maybe we overestimated this. But just looking at the girls on that roster and the way that Jade Parsons has developed in the middle as a center for that team, and the way Jenna McDonald has stepped up and become a leader of that team. They have another Shawless sister in Logan, just a freshman, played a big part in the team. Fletcher triplets out there getting it done. They've got a program there. So next year they're going to lose Skylar Shawless, who was the leader of this year's team. But I think they're going to be poised to win a 4th straight. They're going to be my favorites, certainly. in the West, and they didn't win the West either. The Bloomfield girls won the West, and that was due to they had a great team. Amelia Poole at point guard was phenomenal. Braylon Scott inside was just a beast to contend with double-doubles I think she had a double-double every single game this year but one. And she was our FL1 Sports Girls Player of the Year over Elena Forbes from Midlakes, which a lot of people gave us some flack for that, and I don't know, maybe we did make a mistake, but if you just look at the numbers, it was tough to not give it to Braylon Scott. So Bloomfield's going to lose a lot. Poole and Scott are both seniors. Red Jacket, though, returns almost everybody. Sydney Close, Sarah Van Aken. They really emerged late in the season. They beat South Seneca earlier in the year, but through the postseason run, they knocked off Bloomfield, who was the Finger Lakes West champ in sectionals, and set up that matchup with South Seneca, which South Seneca won fairly easily. But that's going to be a huge rivalry game next year in the West, South Seneca and Red Jacket. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Wayne County girls, let me talk about the Wayne County girls for just a second. Canada girls got a great program, pretty much dominating the Wayne County leagues, along with ER maybe over the past few years. But credit to Red Creek and Mike Krause. They beat Gananda twice. They won the Wayne County title. It might have been the first Wayne County title in their school's history. Then they get upset in the semifinal round of sectionals, but they return a lot, including Izzy Wilbur, to next year. They're going to be the favorites in Wayne County next year for the girls, and in a true sectional contender as well. We'll have to see how the classifications all wind up, because they were a C1 team, and these Finger Lakes West girls teams were C2. Some of that might get shuffled up a little bit, so that'll be one of the first things that we share with you next fall, or sooner, when those classifications are official for next season, because it'll make a big difference in some of the storylines, I guess, going forward. The Finger Lakes East boys. This was set up from the start to be a great battle between the Wayne Eagles and the Minders Blue Devils. But also Penn Yan, they were high on our radar to start the season. We might have started them at 5th or 6th in our power rankings. Senior-laden team, and it did emerge to be a 3-person race. Newark, highly disappointing season. Taylor Clement's senior year, they didn't have some of the superior guard play that I guess that they've had in past years. DeAndre Saunders left the team early in the year. New head coach, so a lot of change and turnover in Newark. And overall, a pretty disappointing season by Newark Red standards. So they didn't figure into the race, and thought maybe they might pull an upset or two and maybe spoil somebody's one of those 3 teams I mentioned, but wasn't the case. Midlakes boys thought they might play a part. Bryce Burry was a senior. He scored 1,000th point this year. Trevor Millman and Devin Hicks, a couple of great big men. Hicks will be back next year. Millman will graduate. And a pretty solid group of guards surrounding them all, but much is the case through most of Burry's career, they just couldn't get over the hump. And then in sectionals, they're coming up a point or two short. It's a tough situation in the Finger Lakes East. It's such a strong league, but Midlakes again didn't play a part in that title race either. Waterloo got better. Derek Saluka, maybe next year Waterloo, when we do our preseason preview show next year, maybe we're talking about Waterloo as one of the teams that could maybe contend with Wayne. Maybe predicting them as high as 2nd or 3rd. We'll have to see what happens there with Waterloo, who comes back, who comes up. But not only was it Sluka, but they had a great group of sophomores as well. Hubbard, Ruiz, and I don't have the names in front of me, but we're going to have an eye on them. Certainly next year might be a year that they kind of reemerge onto the scene that they've been away for a long time. And then Geneva. Geneva's got out to that great start to the season, winning against Lions and then beating Weedsport to win the Waterloo tip-off tournament title. But they had a tough situation this year. They played no home games because their gym's being remodeled, so they were playing home games in Waterloo and Romulus. And really, once they got into the season, it just kind of was, the losses started racking up. But they returned a lot, and specifically their two big men, Reed Patchett and Akeem Hudson. They had a couple sophomore guards that really look good this year that next year will be juniors. They're bringing up more kids from a good JV team. So Geneva is another one of those teams that we didn't talk about a lot this year, but next year, don't be surprised if they are in our top three in the Finger Lakes East preseason. So, but as far as those top three teams go, Minders, Penn Yan, Wayne, boy, it was a great battle. It was a really entertaining season. A lot of credit to Penn Yan for they beat Minders at Minders. Wayne beat Minders at Minders. Those, and I guess it's a credit to Minders, the program, that those were such big wins for those two schools. But then Minders went back to Wayne and beat Wayne with Blankenberg on the sideline with an injury. It was just a fantastic year. The only thing that was disappointing about the Finger Lakes West, which Wayne won it for the first time in school history, Finger Lakes East champs, and then Wayne won their second straight sectional title in A2. Last year was the first sectional title in their school history. But as far as sectionals went for Penn Yan and Minders in Class B, it was all set up just like last year with Minders and Newark in the semifinals in Victor to advance and face each other in the Blue Cross Arena to make it 3 straight years with an all Finger Lakes East final at the Blue Cross. But it wasn't to be. Greece Odyssey beat Minders and Livonia beat Penn Yan, and that was a tough night for us at Finger Lakes 1, hoping that we were going to get maybe both teams in, and then hoping maybe we get one team in, and then it was just no teams in Class B this year from the Finger Lakes East. But it's going to be interesting next year because both those programs could take a step back. They both lose their entire starting lineups. I think both teams lose all 5 starters. Penn Yan had a great JV team, so we'll see. We'll just have to get a look at him next year. Minders brings back Darren Miller. He's a brother of Heidi Miller from the girls team. And he's just a great physical specimen for basketball and a great talent. He really showed some flashes this year, but he's going to be called upon next year to really be dominant if Minders is going to be successful. They had a mediocre JV team, not quite to the level of Penn Yan or Wayne. In Wayne next year brings back everybody except the Fresh Prince, Braden Zanelovic, but they bring back that big three who we've been following since their sophomore year. Some of them since their freshman year. Billy Thompson, Logan Blankenberg, and Nick Big Country Carmichael will be back. And as I mentioned, a really good JV team. And Logan's younger brother was an 8th grader on that JV team, and he looks really good. I mean, Wayne could be really tough to contend with here. And even after that, the graduation next year, Carmichael and Blankenberg and Thompson, they could still be set up to continue that run. They've done a great job of building up that program up in Ontario. As far as the Finger Lakes East girls go, another in the preseason, it was wide open. Dan Harris did a great job with the Palmac girls this year. But the story of the year was obviously the Midlakes Screaming Eagle girls. I mean, that was the story of the entire year in Section 5. If you had to pick one thing from the Wayne Finger Lakes Leagues to talk about, you got to talk about what that program did. They won their first sectional title since 1975, their first Finger Lakes East title in decades, maybe ever. Record keeping on that front's kind of tough to verify, but then they took it all the way to the state final, and the way that galvanized the community in Phelps and Clifton Springs is a run like that does. That's one of the best parts. It just gets the whole community involved, and the school spirits at an all-time high. But this was a team that was 10-12 a year ago, and then they go undefeated through the regular season, right up to the New York State Final Four. I think their final record was something like 24-1, 23-1. I mean, congratulations to Nate Rich and everybody involved with that Midlakes program. Elena Forbes is an amazing talent. We can't wait to see her next year as a senior. Easily our girls player of the year in the Wayne Finger Lakes heading into next season. Carol Walker, just a freshman, was phenomenal this year. She's the team's second leading scorer. Macy Kisner, a junior, along with Forbes, will be back. She's an outstanding player. They lose Jordan Noya and Claire DeBouver, and I think I don't want to just dismiss those losses, because Jordan Noya might be one of the most underrated point guards in the Finger Lakes East. She was great on both ends of the ball, and so they will miss her. But they had a pretty good JV team, too. Madison Nurse is a name that I'm going to say right now that you're going to want to remember for next year. I'm sure that heading into next year, Midlakes, as it will happen when you get to the state Final Four, I think you want to get back there. Now, so they know what it takes now, and they know where they stand, and I give them a good shot at getting back there and maybe beyond. They ran into a really, really good Susquehanna Valley team in the semifinals. You heard that game live on FingerLakes1.com. And let me tell you, I was there and I saw them, that team, Susquehanna Valley, was just a next level type of team. And Midlakes did a great job making it a ball game. They kept it, they cut it to 7 at one point. The game was usually right around 10, 12, 14-point game. They never got blown out by the Sabres from Susquehanna Valley, but they could never also get over the hump and challenge them down the stretch. But nothing to be ashamed of. Amazing season for Midlakes. Can't wait for next year. And the teams that might challenge them next year, maybe the Geneva girls. Lauren Devaney's back for them. The Miners girls lose Heidi Miller. She had a tough season with injury. She was out for the entire postseason. But we'll see what Jerry Anderson has in store for the Minders girls next year. Palmat girls will be very good. Penyan loses a little bit with Sydney Bloom. The Waterloo girls should be better. Jillian Panic will be a junior. They do lose Logan Castiglione. Trying to think of some other teams there in the Finger Lakes East for the girls that could make some noise next year or challenge Midlakes. But Midlakes will be the clear favorite. And I think going forward into next year, I mean, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at, on the boys' side, Wayne, huge favorite. Going to be tough to beat. In the Finger Lakes West, Whitman, big favorite. Going to be tough to beat. And in Wayne County, forget about it. I mean, Lions, I'll call it right now. I'll give them the title right now. There is not going to be anybody in that league that's going to be able to compete with Justice Smith and company in Wayne County. That includes Clyde, they're going to bring back Cam Chance, who was just a freshman. A McKinley kid from JVs is going to play a part, but they're kind of revamping there. And rumor is that Tim Jackson is not going to be back as head coach this next year for Clyde. I can't confirm it, but I've heard it from a lot of great sources that that's going to be the case. But nothing official. But Wayne County next year, man, I mean, Lions should schedule the most difficult out-of-league schedule in the history of high school basketball next year, because they're going to walk through the Wayne County League next year. On the girls' side, Midlakes, big-time favorites in the East. In the West, now here we go. Let's start Wayne County. Red Creek girls are probably going to be big-time favorites, although maybe not as clear-cut of an advantage as some of these other leagues I've been talking about, because the Gananda girls could challenge them, but they're definitely favorites. probably big-time favorites as well. But the one league where it could get really interesting is the girls' West, with specifically Red Jacket and South Seneca. Now, Red Jacket this year kind of, I don't want to say they surprised themselves, but they found themselves in the sectionals finals against South Seneca. Red Jacket, first time there in a while, and South Seneca, it's just like they book their tickets to the sectional final game every year before the season starts. So South Seneca with a little bit of an experience advantage there. Next year, I think Red Jacket, now knowing and having been there, those girls are probably going to make it a point to say that's our goal. Our goal is to win the West, to beat South Seneca, and then to win sectionals. So that's going to be an interesting league race to watch next year for sure, between those two teams and anybody else who wants to get involved in the race. So yeah, hey, this year was great. Next year is going to be great too, and that's the other thing. We make a lot of assumptions. You never know. We thought Midlakes girls were going to be pretty good this year, but nobody in a million years thought they were going to go undefeated. Nobody, not even them. You can even ask Coach Rich or some of the girls. They even surprise themselves. So you never know what's going to happen next year. Things change. Younger players emerge. They get better. They work in the off season, and one thing I can guarantee you, it's going to be fun and exciting. It is every year. So moving forward here, we're getting close. At the end of the show, we're going to give you our season recap video. That's always a lot of fun. I think you're going to enjoy it again this year. We love putting it together. I mean, we're out there getting so much footage of all these games that it only makes sense to put together some sort of recap. It takes a lot of work, but it's a great way for us to kind of wrap things up. That's coming up here in about 10 minutes or so. There was a little controversy on the girls' side. Izzy Wilbur for Red Creek in the sectional semifinal game against Byron Burgeon was ejected. That means she couldn't play in the next game. They appealed. Actually, what happened was her father or family sued Section 5. Remember Ezekiel Elliott when he was suspended from the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys? They sued the NFL, and then until that court case was decided, he got to play. Similar here. So they sued. Izzy Wilbur played in the sectional semifinals. It was a quarterfinal game where she was ejected due to potentially tripping a girl, or that's the big mystery from the video. You can't really tell what happened, but she was able to play, and they did lose. But the point, talking to Izzy's dad, is that they want to change the process for appealing, so it doesn't have to turn into a lawsuit. Which that suit is still alive, by the way. He wants to change the appeal process. So either way, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened, but it seems like, yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound like much to bystanders, but when it's your kid or your high school career that's on the line, and you're not allowed to play in that next sectional game that could be your last game, it's very important to those kids. So I don't know if any change will come of it, but that was a big story that we kind of broke, and then it really got picked up on by some of the Rochester media specifically. So, hey, let's have some fun. I'm going to run through here some awards for, and we're going to start with the best fan base, and you know what? We're giving it to the Midlakes fan base, who just overtook the whole gymnasium at Rush Henrietta this year and traveled all the way out to Albany. Congratulations to the Midlakes fans, the community. And there you get a look at someone that waited 90 years to see the Midlakes girls win their sectional title. But they brought the signs, they brought the noise. There's another shot of them in the crowd at Rush Henrietta just moments before they won the sectional title. And if we give this award every year, it's probably always going to be won by a team that makes a deep sectional run because that's what really brings them out. But they were the regular season girls games, and not just the girls, but the boys. And then we get a look at the best student section, the Clyde-Savannah Golden Eagles. Capture that honor. They really are organized and loud, and happy to recognize the Clyde-Savannah students. And best concessions. Now, this is actually the concession stand in Clyde. I don't know why we showed it, because the winner's Waterloo. They got hamburgers, hot dogs, pizza, candy. They do a great job in Waterloo. And there's our best cheerleaders, Lions. Every single game they're at. Every single game. Now, this isn't the best gymnastics cheerleaders. This is just they're there every game, bringing a lot of spirit, I guess, to the gymnasium and at the Atwood, and there they are at the Blue Cross Arena, and I'm happy to recognize those girls. They're just great. And then, of course, best dressed. There he is. Look at him. Now, this game he decided not to wear the vest underneath this suit, but it's always between Tim Jackson and Heather Mount. We had to go with Tim Jackson. The different shades of purple, the different hues of purple that he was. There he is with just the vest. Yep, shaking the hand. Yep, you're looking good, coach. Jim Jackson, best dressed coach. And then I have to mention, this is actually a shot of Newark at Minders, but the best gymnasium is not Arthur L. Baker in Minders. The best gymnasium is the court at Newark. They had a new court this year, and we get a look at it there. Great facility, great accommodations by Chris Corey for us to broadcast from, and just really one of the most comfortable gyms to get into. Big enough to fill a large crowd, and congratulations in Newark. And then, of course, hey, there he is, man, best mascot. There is no competition. Freddie the Falcon. Look at him go. Without a doubt, it wasn't even close. And there was a lot of mascots out there this year, but Freddie the Falcon, here he is, just embarrassing the Oakfield, Alabama Hornet in a dance contest. Check this out. There goes the Hornet. No, nice try. Freddie the Falcon is owning the Oakfield, Alabama Hornet in this dance contest. Yeah, and the Hornet gives up. Freddie just keeps going. Gonna come back, maybe try it again. No, I don't think so. No, can't compete with Freddie. Saw a lot of great mascots too this year, which is every school should have one. I mean, come on, let's go. Freddie the Falcon, without a doubt, the best. He's got the moves, understands the flow of the game. And, of course, he's been a part of some deep sectional runs the past few years. Love Freddie the Falcon. There he is with a flag. So, anyways, there you go. Just some fun awards. And getting back to that gym in Newark, the court looked really nice, and it's tough. There's a lot of gyms that we like you give it to, like the Atwood Gymnasium was electric this year, but man, it's so old and historic, but that in a way makes it a great gym to go to. It's unique. There are a lot of good gyms, but there's a lot of gyms that are tough for us to go to, that are really difficult because there's not great accommodations for media covering the game. They stick us in a corner because they have no choice, and a lot of gyms create technical issues for us in terms of how we're going to get the stream out and how we're going to connect our cameras. But Newark is always so easy for us. Newark and Waterloo. Now, Newark and Waterloo are similar, but Waterloo is just open. They keep that back wall open to the other side, and it's just cavernous. So even when you have a decent crowd, it doesn't seem to get too loud in there. But anyways, yeah, there's some awards there for you. We're getting up here on almost time to wrap this thing up and get to our video. And chance for me just to ask you, if you're interested in getting involved next year with us, just reach out to us. Email us at contact@fingerlakes1.com, contact@fingerlakes1.com. Let us know that you want to get involved. If you have play-by-play experience, we really could use play-by-play broadcasters. For us to do more games, we need two things: people and sponsors. So if you know anybody in your community that wants to sponsor, turn them on to us. We got packages that range from $400 or $500 up to $4,000 or $5,000, and we really can do more if the financial support is there. And then if we have people to staff at one place where it's tough is play-by-play. We had 3 play-by-play announcers this season: myself, Brendan Harrington, and Dave Barnick. We really could use a couple more play-by-play guys. So maybe you have some experience doing play-by-play, or maybe you want to learn. It's a tough thing. We take a lot of pride in, I guess, what we do in terms of making it professional and entertaining to watch at home for just a casual fan, not even if you have a rooting interest in a specific game. But we need play-by-play guys. We can always use camera operators. I'd love to show up at a school, any school, and have a student from that school maybe there to help us with running a camera, second camera maybe. But we need also people on the production side. And then just information gathering. I mean, this year was tough without having Mike Dozier's score wire up and running anymore. So we really had to scrape together information to do those nightly recaps that we did. Over 90 nights this year, you woke up the next morning and there was the results from the night before with scores, stats, some highlights, some tweets. That was hard to do this year, and we relied on people sending us information. So even if you just want to send us information and media from the team that you cover, reach out to us, open up that line of communication. We had some great support from a lot of parents and school administrators or scorekeepers. One thing we had scorekeepers do was just take a picture of the scorebook when you were done and send it to us. So we really need to continue to do that if we're going to cover the Wayne Finger Lakes leagues the way that you've come to expect us to, I guess. So yeah, reach out to us. And then I really need to give a shout out to our entire FL1 sports team. Jeremy Hunt and his brother Jason. I mean, Jeremy was at every single game, I think. And Jason, his brother, one of our key producers. Those two guys are as big a part of what we do here at FingerLakes1.com in our coverage as anybody, including myself. Couldn't do it without them. They're behind the scenes, but believe me, if you enjoy what we do, you owe them a debt of gratitude. Ryan Sowards and Harrison DeMaria on the cameras this year. Our broadcast team of Brendan Harrington, Dave Barnick, Nick Ciotti, Tony Robinson, Michael Alessio, Matt Verkey, Rhett Taccone, Kevin Sharp coming on this year, did a great job. Coach Jerry Anderson from the girls helped us this year in the postseason. Some of our postseason girls live streams, he was in the booth, and this is what separates us, I think, from a lot of the other stuff that you might see out there, either here on the radio or see other schools in Section 5 streaming games. Is we just have great colored commentators who really know what they're talking about, either from experience, from playing or coaching, and it brings so much to the broadcast. Can't say enough about these guys. It's phenomenal. So it's been our pleasure to bring you a total of 44 live high school basketball games this season, in addition to countless interviews with players and coaches, special features, and over 90 nightly game updates, providing the most comprehensive coverage of the Wayne Finger Lakes anywhere. So thanks for joining us for another season of the Upstate Hoops Podcast on FingerLakes1.com. Connect with us on Twitter at FingerLakes1. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Check out our archived episodes at FingerLakes1.tv. And for everyone here at FingerLakes1.com and our entire FL1 sports team, thanks for coming along for the ride the past 4 months. Have a great summer, and we'll be back bigger and better than ever starting next year in late November.
And right now they're going to give the championship trophy to the Wayne Eagles. And Braden Zanelovic is the first one out there to grab the hardware. And now he'll be joined by his teammates, and they'll pose for some pictures. pictures out at mid-floor.
As they add another sectional block to their trophy case down in Ovid.
And right now, Clyde-Savannah is awarded the championship trophy. The block. The brick.
Coach of the Screaming Eagles, and bricks.
And there they go. Sectional championship time as the fans storm the court. I guess when it's been since 1975, Coach.
Yeah, you know, it's great to see all the kids out there, the student support. And, I like it. You know, let them be a part of it.
A huge round of applause. And with the win tonight in the MVP award, Justice Smith has absolutely arrived on the scene as one of the all-time greats at Lions. Just a junior. Good afternoon, everybody. Jim Sinacropi sitting alongside Nick Ciotti here for FingerLakes1.com, and we're ready to kick off another season of high school basketball.
Has the angle on Campbell all the way to the basket, lays it up and in, and he was fouled. Great back cut, Carmichael, and the foul.
Low, drives baseline, up and under, reverse.
Peters, quick trigger, bam.
Beautiful hit three-pointer by Ariel Aguirre. There's a rebound, spins against Van Busker. Pretty finish by John Lexer, who's now dribbling the other way underneath the basket. Gets it back out top for three. Cole Wright, yes! 2 seconds left to go. Lucas spins, lets a turnaround go. Nothing but net for Derek Sloka.
Maybe even 6. Geithner drives, scores, and was fouled.
Ford steps in and gets a steal behind the pass to Walker. Left-handed layup is good. What a play by Elena Ford.
What some razzle-dazzle.
Yes! 1,001 points for number 3. Game over. Wayne Eagles win. Wayne defeats Minders. Starting the ball. Shot clock's off. Up ahead to Weaver. To Harris. Layup. Good. The Lions win. 87-82. What a ball game.
I love basketball. I can't wait to keep playing, hopefully playing college.
Man, it feels so good to be Clyde. First time in my varsity career.
Before the season, we have team goals, and one of them was league champion.
We're all very unselfish, so it helps us as a team and as a family.
We wanted to prove them wrong. We wanted to say, hey, we can come out here and beat Minders in Minders, and that's what we did.
Penyon has it. They win the game.
Penyon wins it. At the ball, quick trigger 3. Anderson got it. Huge looking off the ball screen. Step back 3. Book it.
One dribble, swing back. In traffic.
And good.
Has another 3. Yes! 5 seconds. Marcus Kidd pulls up. It can't go. But he does! Are you kidding me? The Clyde-Savannah Golden Eagles are your 2018 Wayne County League champs.
All that comes to mind is just all the people that got me here. You know, the support from my parents.
It's great playing for Coach Anderson. Always tough on me, making me better.
We knew you guys were going to be here. We knew everyone was watching.
It's always a big game.
Taylor with a great save. And good. Miller slays him. Driving McDonald splits the gap. Won't let the free go. This one hits.
The free throw centralized Taylor Clements.
Deep creep and Pavitt. Yes! Dunk foul by Justice Smith. Little backdoor alley-oop and the kiss by Blankenberg. felt more like this one had to be gutted out. It just didn't steamroll.
Well, obviously it's my senior year. This could have been my last game of my career.
Nothing less than a sectional is going to be satisfied the whole team this year.
Because it has to be in our heart. We have to want it more than the other team.
Here's the steal by Logan Joe. Driving, bounce pass, Jenna.
Pretty.
Not an easy shot either.
Up down low. What a drop!
That's a beautiful move.
And he was fouled.
Finds Benji Pad Company Kemp underneath. He lays it up and in.
Rippey really struggled to control the ball. Finally comes away with a great pass. Rudoff who finishes.
William Noya picked the pocket of Jordan Majuga, and now up ahead is Elena Forbes.
Marble leaving for Yale. Yale will not shoot. Instead he tries and hits the runner down the left edge of the lane. Honeyboy has come to play.
Across the court for the rebound from Shelman. Rebound from Smith. Right between the eyes. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. Pulls up for 15 and hits. Hangs in the air. Looking good in the foul. And the Lions are your 2018 Section 5 Class C2 champions. The 18th sectional title in the school's history.
The Wayne Eagles have won back-to-back Section 5 championships.
And the South Seneca Lady Falcons win it for the 3rd straight year, making it a 3-peat year.
And for an 11th time, the Clyde-Savannah Golden Eagles have won a boys basketball sectional championship.
The clock runs out, and for the first time since 1975, the Midlakes Screaming Eagles girls basketball team are sectional champions, winning the Class B tournament, and the celebration is on in Phelps and Clifton Springs, although I think at least half of those towns are here today here at Rush Henrietta.
They may be.